So let's talk about Urge 7. I met Urge, I think it was at his house, maybe about 10 years ago. And when I first met him, he actually was showing me he had like 30 mixtapes and like 20 albums. And the interesting thing is, when I met him, he had all the albums and mixtapes actually. Like, I think he had them like kind of highlighted or posted on the board. They're kind of set up where you can see them. And who knows how many albums he has out now? I mean, he stays working, he stays putting out music at a pretty high clip. He does a lot of films and everything. So it was very interesting to meet him. I remember the first time we were sitting down, he was showing me on his phone. He had all these different like advertisements and different things with his face on it, Urge 7 promotion, and just really like just a solid dude as far as like, you know what I'm saying, work ethic, and really putting this energy out there as far as making music and creating. So we fast forward, we're putting together the independent. Of course, I had to go ahead and ask him if he wanted to be part of this independent series, just because the stories are so interesting. He starts off, being signed. He goes ahead and he puts out his music at his own clip, like I said, independently. He has his own studio. When I first actually met him, he did have music in his studio. He was actually recording and things like that. And we shot a lot of the episodes of Independent at his house. He's just kind of a solid dude like that. Anytime I actually talk to her, like I said, we'll conversate about a project or we'll conversate about things that are going on. But he always kind of gives me a light, the energy of what I'm doing, which is actually kind of refreshing sometimes. Maybe sometimes you're putting together certain projects, or maybe you don't see what you're doing, but he always lets me know, hey man, you were out on tour, and you did a nationwide tour, you put together, the independent, you're always working, you're always grinding, your creativity, and he kind of gives me a new energy that gets me going again. Sometimes when maybe I'm not even feeling like I'm actually making a dent on it. But his episode, I think, is one of my favorite episodes in Independent because his story is so prolific, and he goes into depth, and he really gives us some stuff that maybe people are not, I guess maybe don't give up sometimes. He's telling us about like family, he's telling us about recording, telling what his drive is, and a lot of times, even in interviews, maybe some people keep things a little bit guarded. And one thing I know for Urge 7 is never at a loss for words. Like I said, even with the rhymes, when having a conversation, that's why I knew when I told him, hey, this is going to be kind of a long form, long answer project, whatever. I knew I had no problem with that because he was going to give me the full answer in its detail, which makes his episode so compelling. Like I said, he's really giving up just really good information, really his struggles, his ups and downs, the highlights, and everything that happens in this episode with his. And I just thought he was kind of the embodiment of what it is to be an independent artist sometimes. You persevere, you keep putting out projects, you keep making things happen. And that's kind of what Urge 7 does. Like I said, even when he's putting out music, it's always constantly coming. You always see him in a new film. You always see him maneuvering and kind of grinding forward. And even, like I said, I don't know what his day like, his day-to-day is like, but man, I'm telling you, when he's putting in work, you can tell he's putting in hours and hours, maybe days on days, maybe no sleep. So it's just dope to actually highlight that and check out his episode. And like I said, I met him. He's a good friend. We do have music together. I don't know what happened to the music though. I gotta actually hit him up, man. So if you guys see him, go to his page and ask him, hey, what happened to that Mike the Middleman Urge 7 compilation or the album you guys put together? But we do have some songs. Like I said, he came out for us with Knuckles. He played a pivotal part as far as being the boss's like sideman, his right hand, and really gave a lot of dynamic to it, whatever. So a lot of times when I have a project and I'm reaching out, man, I'll hit up Urge first and ask him like, hey man, we got something such and such going on, or we have this going on. And 9 times out of 10, Urge is probably going to be down for the project. He's going to add a lot of depth to the project, and that's why I think his episode was so interesting and so dynamic in independent, whatever. It was just dope, you know what I'm saying? So I just want to highlight how I met him, how he got on the show, and why he was the first episode. Like I said, I think he has a long, detailed story of what it is to be an independent artist, even as an actor or a musician or a producer or putting together projects. And I thought he would be the first one to launch that off. And he even gives us a little personal side of things that he had to do as far as music and creating to reach out to his family and things like that. That is kind of maybe he doesn't have that kind of a connection with. So I thought it was a dope episode, and I just wanted to kind of give an update on the things, all things Urge 7, whatever. So if you get a chance, go check out Independent. It's on kayatickstyles.com, kayatickstyles.tv, and kind of take a deep dive into my man's story. Like I said, it's a super dope story, man. It's got his ups, his downs, might be a little tearjerker here and there, but Urge he's a storyteller, so he's definitely going to give you the answers and let you know exactly what's going on. I'm gonna break down how I met Invincible. I actually met him through a company called Peerspace, which was ironic because we were shooting a film called Under the Underground, and I had been going all around town, Los Angeles, locally here in the Inland Empire. I was just driving different parts of Southern California trying to find a place to shoot. It was actually supposed to be a concert scene for the movie, and I ran into Invincible. I found out he had a studio, so I went and checked out the studio, and it's kind of interesting. Um, and when I went to other places, and I would tell them, what are you going to use the studio for? I would tell them, hey, I'm going to be shooting a short film, and we're going to be going from there. So other people would actually come in and say, okay, well, first the price might be 65 bucks or 40, 50 bucks an hour, something like that. And as soon as I had said, we're going to be shooting a short film, it always doubled or tripled. Say, oh, well, it's not 65 anymore. It's 200, $300. And Invincible Spot not only fit the description of what we wanted to do, it was actually, he kept his price the same. He didn't adjust when I told him I was going to do a short film. He kept it everything, even Steven. So we're going to fast forward. I didn't really know that he had did music prior to that. I was actually shooting a music video slash short film. And then after getting to know him, a little bit later, I found out that he actually did do music. And the interesting fact about that is, like I said, he's actually taking me to Capitol Records. I was actually able to go and be in Capitol Records for the first time. I was able to meet DJ Battlecat and get an interview with him for my channel, even though it's for his music video. I was actually go ahead and introduced to him by Invincible. And also met Too Short through Invincible as well. So I met a few different people in the industry that actually do hip hop, and I've actually listened to his music. And he was pretty plugged in as far as being like an independent underground artist. And now, like I said, Invincible is one of my good friends, man. We talk all the time. We bounce a lot of ideas off each other. And just kind of to just understand, like I say, the music business and even creating music on a whole. Invincible is one of the people that I'll give a call and we'll kind of talk about and see what's going on. I thought he would be absolutely perfect for the independent series, and especially episode 2, because his knowledge of the music is, and creating music and then having certain connections with people that are established in music gives him a different insight as far as, production and music making. I've even recorded a song with him recently, and then just to see the grind and the work that he puts in as well. I think some people don't understand as far as an independent artist what goes into it, and I think, listening to Invincible's story of, how he's handling relationships and how he's getting into the studio, and then his drive as far as what he wants for the music and actually seeing it come to fruition, saying, hey, I want Too Short on the song, and actually getting that to work through and then performing and doing songs with him. And then I know he says one of his mentors, a Big Sight, he knows Cocaine from back in the day when I used to listen to that as well. So just the knowledge that he has, from music and the experience he has from the music, I thought would be great storytelling for this series. Because a lot of people do get into music and they get into the music industry, but some people don't have the connections and even the experience that he has. And I thought maybe if we could capture that experience and maybe we can share that experience in our episode, and he's episode 2, but it's just something that I want to capture and give him a highlight, just to show the work that he's done. And like I said, in the beginning, like I said, I used to bring a studio from him and end up being like a great experience because, like I said, he becomes a good friend. We actually able to go ahead and bounce music together and just, find out the different avenues and what it takes to actually create and make music and what it takes to be successful in the music game. And it's always good to have a friend in this business, I guess, to, to have, I guess, what is the word I'm looking for? You want to be able to explain things or maybe bounce some ideas off of, maybe get some of their input. Sometimes I'll have a project or I'll have something and I'll shoot it to him and see what he thinks, and vice versa. He'll say, hey, what do you think about this? We traveled up and down, and just, it's hard to find people that are really solid workers, people that are really going to find and complete a project all the way through the end process, and someone that is serious about their work. So I thought the episode with Invincible was great. I thought he gave a lot of great detail, like I said, and just his experience in music and then dealing with well-known artists and being in the industry, and then what it takes for him to be successful in the industry. And so I wanted to highlight him in this episode. I think he's episode 2 of Independent, and just showcase what it is to be an independent artist in this day and age, and the drive it takes to become an actual independent artist as far as making music. So check out that episode, Independent, man. Listen to Invincible Story. It's a really good story. Great, like I said, again, great storytelling from a great artist. And with the struggles and the triumphs it is to become, a musician, and what it takes to feel successful when you're making this music. I'm gonna go into depth on how I met Dallas Now What. So yeah, I met Dallas Now What through Urge 7 actually. I think at the time I was sitting at Urge's house before I met him, and he played like a song that Dallas did a production for, and I think it was an Anita Baker song that he chopped up, and it was really sick, super dope, whatever. And then I think Dallas came over a little bit later. I was talking to him about it, like, yo, man, that's a super sick sample, that's a dope song, whatever. And we kind of start chopping it up from there. Dallas is actually just a dope individual, man. Like sometimes he'll randomly call me up and like, yo, I made this beat and I thought about you. If you want to rap over it, I'll go for it. Or sometimes if I have an idea in my head, I'll hit him up sometimes and be like, hey, I got this song or I got this type of beat, and he'll ask me kind of what I'm feeling on it, and then like I say, even later that day, he'll go ahead and drop that beat to me and let me kind of rhyme. And as a artist myself, somebody that loves to create music and loves to just create and make songs, whatever, having a producer that is really interested in making the beats, making the vibe is actually kind of beneficial. I thought it would be cool to go ahead and have Dallas on this episode of Independent, just because everybody actually looks at the music artist as kind of the highlight or the focus point, but you can't really do it without the beat makers and the producers. And he gives a side of doing production for music that I thought was really insightful. And then also his story was Dallas in his actual interview talks about how he puts family above everything. So it's family above music, which may be something I should have learned when I was doing music, because sometimes I would have the music before family, and that didn't work out so well for me on my end. But Dallas will let you know how his wife and his family are kind of the foundation of everything he does, and he'll like I said, and he'll go and make production, but he'll make sure that he puts them first. He talks about them first, and I think that was very important. And even from a production range, like I said, he does know different music artists in the industry. You can see him kind of talking to people and sharing insight and creativity with people as far as making music and production. And I thought that was a super dope highlight as well. Like I said, a lot of times I don't see too many music producers unless they're uber famous or uber the top of the top get interviews on that. And I wanted to highlight that, kind of get his his mode of what he does. He says like sometimes he'll go into making a beat and he'll make a whole bunch of beats and have to come back to him just because of his he has a thing where he doesn't really sit back and focus on one beat the whole time. So sometimes he says he'll have a beat in his head and he'll get that beat in, he'll do a skeleton beat of that, and he'll do another skeleton beat of this one and that one and that one, and then he'll come back and kind of flesh them out. I think that's just interesting to talk about the process of making music. Like I said, making music is not all about the lyrics. It is about the beat, it is about the production, and we got a chance to highlight him in that aspect. I think the cool thing about interviewing Dallas was he talks about relationships and how to build relationships in music and what they can do for you and the advantages you can get from them. And I think that's very important, especially, like I said, as you're collaborating. I think music is not a solo project or solo type of deal. It's a collaboration between others. And he kind of goes with that and kind of what you can get in that aspect of it. I've known him for a while. He's one of a good friend where I can actually, like I said, call him up and say, hey man, I got this idea in my head, and he'll get it back to me. And just having that idea is actually just pretty, that advantage is really, really nice. He was one of the ones that did all the production. He had the beats on the Urge 7 and the Mike the Middleman project, whatever, but he would send me beats, throughout the day randomly. He'd call me, hey, listen to this one, or hey, check this one out. I mean, there'd be tons of beats in there, and me as an MC, and when I hear a beat I have to write to it, and it's just, I've never had that before. I've never had a producer where you can go back and you can say, hey, you know what, I don't like this hi-hat, I don't like this drum pattern, and he'll go back and kind of change it and adjust it for you with no qualms, no issues, no anything. And just like I said, it's a story as a producer, as an independent producer that helps out independent artists. I thought it was very key for him to go ahead and have an episode in this independent series, because he's a very important part. Like I said, producers and their stories are a very important part as a whole in making music in general. So I just want to highlight how I met him. Like I said, I met him through Urge 7, and then, like I said, we actually ended up hitting it off. We'll have long conversations, political, or we'll have deep dive conversations about what we can do, not even on music, just other things that we can talk about, just in life, as being brothers in life, and just kind of going through. And I think that's like very important. And and like I said, same thing with Dallas. Like if I ask him, hey, can I do such and such, or can you do this for me? 9 times out of 10, he's gonna come back and give me a yes, or I haven't very rarely had him say no, I can't do that, or no, I'm not sure if I can make that happen, whatever. So I just want to highlight the story of the production, the producer, how he became episode 3, and you should definitely check it out, man. I think he gives a real in-depth detail of his production process, and what he does as far as how he creates in our episode 3 of Independence. So stay tuned, check it out, man. Go check out Dallas Now What episode. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go into how I met Lyrically Aware. I met Lyrically Aware during the Young Blocker show. I think it was in Los Angeles. He does shows, local shows around Los Angeles and in the Inland Empire and things like that. I think it's mostly Los Angeles. I'm not sure if he does it in the Empire, but she had a set up there. I think she did our set before ours. And normally when I go do shows, I'll go ahead and videotape everybody's set, all as well as ours. But I'll go ahead and videotape everybody's set that's going through. And I think at the time I might have two videos of her actual set while she was doing the Young Baka show. And I think the second set, she was actually getting ready to move back east somewhere, and they kind of made they said, hey, we want to help you do some promotion and things like that. And I think I reached out to her because I actually grabbed everybody's Instagram or email, some type of connection. That's just how I was building my my group at that time. I would record your set, and then I would get your information, and then when I would highlight you on the Instagram. So I think that's what happened. I ended up highlighting her on Instagram through like a set that we put together, or like a video set. And actually, like I said, became friends after that a little bit later. And I didn't know that was going to happen originally. Like I said, she had a dope set. I had the video of her. She was going back east, and then I think she had moved back maybe a little after that. But before she left, she had asked me if I did CD production, which is kind of something we did not too often. But I was like, yeah, I do CD production. And she had an album, I think it's Unfiltered, Uncut, or Unedited. I'm sorry if I forgot, but I think it's Unfiltered, Uncut type of thing. And she asked if I could go ahead and maybe do some some CDs for her, so that she can go ahead and give them out to people while she was going back east. Which I was like, yeah, sure, we can do that. So I end up, I had burned the CDs. I put all the artwork together. I was getting it all done, and I had used some CDs that I had already, and I had bought new ones. So she went ahead, she went back east, she did her thing, and then she ended up hitting me up later and was like, hey man, these CDs, some of them not working, some of them are cool, some are not working, which, I guess like I said, their old CDs didn't work. So instead of, kind of going, like, hey, you kind of screwed me over or whatever, she's like, hey, can you do them again? Which is no problem. I know we like to, keep high quality, do good quality work. So I did them again, sent them out to her, she was cool with it, and then she came back. And like I said, we've kind of been cool ever since. I actually wanted to do a project with an artist that wasn't necessarily someone that's like family or that I knew. So I reached out to her to see if she'd be open to do an album or maybe an EP. And she was, when we started recording that, and like I said, even got a little bit more in depth of talking and just more friendship and things like that. She actually had a show that she had wanted to see if I can get on with, to kind of explain what I was doing. And at the time I told her no, I was kind of done with the music part of my career. I was kind of moving into the production, but she kind of talked me into it, which was really cool. It was actually really cool. I got to do it with one of my favorite DJs, Pudge 55. We asked the questions, we had a good time. And then I can't explain enough, or just show how grateful I am for her, because like I said, we post anything on the Kayatick, she'll share it, she'll actually go put it to her audience, and we wanted to get her in on the Independent as well, because I thought, she's a real lyricist. You see her still performing to this day. You see her always putting out music. She adds a lot of music into her, her story, her Instagram, or just across all her platforms, just her music. She's constantly writing, and even when we were doing our EP project, I think we got 1 or 2 songs done. She did a song for me as well for one of the projects I was putting together. Even when she was that, you would see her writing in the studio. She would go into the booth, and I would see her rap, and you could tell there's a lot of passion as far as
being a lyricist and being a musician. And I thought that was actually dope to highlight. So I reached out to her and was like, hey, we're doing this project called Independent, and I want to see if you want to come through and maybe give your story. I gave her some updates and kind of heads up on what it was, and she came through, and she drove all the way out to where we were shooting, came down, sat down, and we were given, just giving us some dope stories. Like, I mean, one of the stories she's talking about when she starts performing for her family, and that's kind of where she got serious with. She had a group with her family, and then she started doing music for them, and that's what kind of ignited her independent artistry. I thought it was super dope to highlight, like I said, especially as a lyricist, as an MC. We ask her some of the tough questions, and she gives really dope stories about her journey, just in general, about being an MC, about going through the process, about recording, about trying to, get on in the music industry, and I thought it was dope to highlight. So, I actually, like I said, met her just through doing shows. At the time, like I said, I met so many people doing shows, and nothing kind of pans out from it. But lyrically aware, like I said, we came to my studio, we recorded, we tried to put together. I didn't put together out the EP at the time. It kind of happened around pandemic era, and then my family was coming in at that point, so I kind of got it separated there, and I wasn't actually full-fledged into the music like I should have been. But she's got some dope lyrics, like I said, and she was all, game to let me go ahead and make a project for her, which, still might happen in the future, whatever. But I just thought, let's highlight her independent history and what she does as a artist. And I think she's episode 4 and gives really dope, highs and lows and just her experiences being an artist in general. So check out her, Lyrically Aware, super dope artist, on Independent and our docuseries. And yeah, that's just it. So I'm gonna explain how I met El Fudgens. I actually used to throw shows with Invincible at his warehouse, and that's how I met El Fudgens. We threw a show, and I think he came through one day, and he rocked for us. He rocked, was one of the artists on there. So here's a little bit difference. I know when people throw shows, a lot of times, especially artists, not artists, but promoters I know out here, they'll normally charge the artist, and the artist will come in and they'll, rock their set, however long the set is, for whatever amount of money they give. And me and Vince want to do something a little bit different. So El Fudgens came in, and he had a super unique style when I met him. So it was very, I want to say artistic, you know what I'm saying? He had just a unique, different style when he's performing. And I think that's how I kind of got the chance to know him. Now, I did have video of him. Like I said, normally what happens is when I do shows or when I do anything, I'll actually video the whole set or all the artists and everything. And originally that's how I met him. It's like, okay, he has this dope set, he has a dope, style. And then a little bit down the road, like I don't know if he was just beginning out as far as an artist, or maybe he had just kind of gotten going. I don't know. Like I said, but that was the first time I met him. And then now when I see him, he's actually constantly always performing. He does a lot of movie and film work as well, and even, like I said, his style just really stands out a lot different than other artists that I've seen. So I reached out to him to see if he would be open to letting us sit down with him and possibly do a independent series with us, and he was, and I thought it was super dope, man. And he came through, and he, like I said, just like his music and just like the style of his art, he gave a very unique perspective on his take on music and kind of what it's missing, how he kind of attacks music, and I just thought that was super innovative for him. Like I said, when you look at El Fudgens, like I said, and you listen to his music, it's definitely something different than what people are doing, and that's kind of what I liked about his story. Normally in music, there's a lot of like copycat, a lot of same type of, I don't want to say biting, but there's a lot of people that listen to something that is popular or particular, and they'll try to copy that. And I don't get that from his music at all. Like I said, you get a unique style, you get a unique vision. I know he shoots a lot of his own videos and has a lot of his own production, and you kind of get that from him, like a real artist, if you can. So we went ahead and had him come and do an episode for us for Independent. He told us, like I said, his motivations, the inspirations. I think he was telling me that Smokey Robinson was somebody that he saw live and that made him really want to embrace more of the artistry as well. Which, like I said, I don't know his age or whatever, but Smokey Robinson's a little bit even before my time, but I love Smokey as well. But just to know that he has that influence, or when he saw Michael Jackson, kind of do his performance of his music or whatever, and how he kind of took into that and kind of liked that performance of what he does. I thought it's a really unique perspective, because I think you can tell in his music the creativity and exactly like the direction he's going. Like he is, not necessarily, like I said, what you see artists kind of doing the copycat thing. His style is unique. His music take is unique. His delivery is very unique. And I noticed that even when, like I said, we were doing the shows with Invincible at his warehouse. This guy stands out over everybody else. Like I said, everybody else is kind of doing the same type of music, but at the time he was calling himself the Black James Dean, and even like how he was dressing kind of gave that demeanor. His delivery, how he was rhyming, gave that kind of demeanor. And I thought it would be a dope highlight, a dope story to tell. So we sat down with El Fudgens. He came down, he gave a great interview. Definitely a must see, a must watch. Like I said, my man really does his thing on that one. So sit down. I think it's episode 5. He kills it. You know what I mean? And go check out his music. Like I said, if you want a unique take and a unique vibe or unique look on what's happening with music, definitely go ahead and check him out, man. Because like I said, he's a dope storyteller, dope artist, and we want to highlight that as well. So check out El Fudgens. All right.
All right, so I'm gonna break down the first time I met Rockefeller. So I actually met her through Invincible. Again, another person I met through Invincible. I met her. She actually did his show, which I don't know if she knew that, but she did his show and I was there. And they had a really good conversation and everything. And so we fast forward a little bit. I'm trying to put together the independent series, and I only had about 8 people. And I was trying to get 10 for the whole show. And my buddy Invincible was like, hey, the girl Rockefeller that did my show, she actually does music. So maybe you can get her on the show and do the independent as well. So I was like, oh no, that's dope, yeah. So he's like, okay, well, reach out to her on Instagram and shoot her a message and see if she's down. And I'm not super Instagram savvy like that, so I told Invincible, nah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. Hopefully we can find a way to get her on the show. So he said, do you want me to facilitate that? Maybe I can reach out to her and see if she's down to go ahead and do the independent show for you. So I said, yeah, hook that up for me if you can. So I think he went ahead and reached out to her. A couple days passed, and he came back to me and said, you know what, she's down to do the show. Just kind of give me a date and a time on when you want to get her on the show. And that took a little bit of organizing as well. We actually got her set up on the show. I think Vince did another one of his shows earlier that day, and we booked it, my show, to follow his session after that. And she came through looking like $1,000,000. And she is one of the people that actually came through and looked amazing for the show. She got highlighted, dressed up, highlighted, looked really good from that. And it was the first time I got a chance to hear her story. Which I thought was an interesting story. Like I said, I couldn't find too much music on her in the beginning, so I don't know if she's at the beginning of her career, or maybe she is just starting out in the music, or maybe she has music and she just hasn't released it all yet. But I was actually able to find out a few things about her during the interview. Like I said, she moved from, I think, the Midwest, and she came over here to Los Angeles to fulfill her music dreams and kind of get into the studio and record. And the different thing about that was mostly we have been talking to MCs and rappers and producers and like hip hop artists, and she's nowhere near doing like the hip hop music, kind of a pop rock star, which was kind of dope in itself. So right into questions, I had to go and try and figure out how I want to approach that. One of the first female artists, the second female artist, she's like one of the first female singer artists that I had to kind of adjust for. And I thought she had a dope story. Like I said, it was super interesting. Second generation musician. I think she said her dad does music, and he was actually showing her how to do a little bit of music, but even though she's kind of doing her own way. I thought it was a dope, interesting interview, just because, like I said, I didn't get a chance to really talk to too many singers for one. And then, just with the competition of singers and ladies that sing, or just people that sing in general, I thought some of the answers she gave was, very unique, very uplifting, super positive as well. So I don't know at the time that she did the interview that she had known that we had met before, but we did meet before, like I said, Invincible's interview, and I thought she gave a great interview as well. When you go back and you kind of look at it, you kind of see, like I said, I'm not sure as far as like how far in the music career is, but she has sent me a few of the new songs that she's doing, and I think she was working on the song at the time. She had a video at the time that we saw that was super dope. I don't know, I haven't seen the video since, but it was a dope concept. Like I said, dope lyrics, dope vocals, and I think it's just kind of interesting to see somebody in their stage of working and putting together a project. Especially like I said, when you're in the creative stage or the creative space, and you're creating new music, and you're in the studio recording, and you're putting together the concepts, and you're putting together the albums, you're putting together like an EP, getting the artwork together. I think it was very beneficial. Like I said, it really kind of got me thinking about say music as far as the songstress is concerned. Singing the ballads. I think she sent me one through Instagram once that had a lyric on there that I was kind of giving like a little press about. I was like, oh, this is kind of, so that's a wild lyric, but to hear the singing and the emotions behind it is just a super dope concept as far as the singer is concerned. Like I said, I've been dealing with mostly rappers and mostly hip hop artists, and to tell her story, like I said, coming to California, being a second generation musician, growing up in music and still want to fulfill that music not only for her but for her family as well, is just a dope concept and a dope story for me to kind of capture and tell to the people. So we were able to get her for episode 6 of The Independent. And like I said, you look at it, like I said, it came out a really good interview. She gives really good answers on that, and like I said, she looks like $1,000,000 on camera when you see it. So definitely go check out her interview on Independent. Like I said, it's on Kayatick Styles. Go check it out. It's super dope, super great. Like I said, somebody that moved across the country to come to Los Angeles and really get that career moving and started. And like I said, you kind of see her on her journey, in the beginning journey. Like I said, I don't know how far she is in her journey, but I know she has 4 or 5 songs that I've heard, and like I said, she's just getting into making that happen. And I think it's just, we're one of the first, I don't know if we're the first, but we're one of the first interviews in her music journey, and I think it's actually dope to capture that and to see where she goes from now. Like I said, you can always look back and see her growth from beginning to where she's going to go in the future. So go ahead and check that out. Like I said, it's Rockefeller. Like I said, first time I got to meet her, I was very impressed with the music, and like I said, impressed with the interview. So check it out. So the first time I met Strictly Business was way back when I was putting out my first album, or my first album, My Cousin. I'll put it that way. And I met Strictly Business. We worked together. We actually were at the job together. And I didn't know at the time that he was a musician at all. But I would chop it up to him and let him know. I think the first time he knew that I was a musician, I had came into work and I had CDs in a little jewel case, whatever. They were on the display with all our, our logo and everything. And I think he hit me up like, "Oh, I didn't know you did hip hop," or maybe something like that. But we started chopping it up, and that was our first, not our first introduction. We actually talked, at work before that. But I think that was the first time he noticed that I was actually doing music. Now, the funny thing is, we got laid off from that job, or that job ended up ending or whatever, and then we went to another job or whatever, and I met him, or I met him at another job. I said then back to friends again, talking and everything, and I was working on another project, the second project with my cousin, and still doing music and doing shows and trying to get the company at the time off. It was a different name, but I was trying to get the company launched, and I had found out that he was doing music, and he was launching his own company called Concrete Entertainment. And we would basically take breaks, and we would go out and just bounce ideas off each other. Or I let him know, like, "Hey man, when I was doing this, I would do this a little bit different." And I know he was just starting out, so I wasn't trying to tell him what to do, but I was just trying to give him insight on the mistakes that I had made in his process, going in. And I know at the time he was actually managing 3 guys that were, his artists, and he was kind of, putting their album together. And I was getting a chance to listen to the music they were putting out. And these guys were fire, man. They were dropping dope lyrics. I was letting them know, "Yo, you should, kind of do this." I kind of just give him some insight, saying, and going there. So I know he was building his Concrete Entertainment, and at the time I was building my company as well, trying to get everything moving. And it was just a dope vibe, right? He's my good buddy, right? I always chop it up, and we'll have conversations about business in general, and just simple ideas or even complex ideas of what it is to do music. So as he started building his concrete brand, I noticed at one point he was actually started rhyming, and I didn't know he rhymed. I mean, I knew he was doing music and kind of doing like the managerial part.
But I didn't know he was rhyming, and that's when he started doing his strictly business. And I was giving him feedback, like, "Yo, man, that's a dope song. That's kind of this dope video, dope vibes." And he stayed at a pretty consistent clip. He was staying, putting music out quite a bit, and I thought it was, super dope. So when I was reaching out and I was actually getting ready to do the independent, he was one of the first people that I went up to. I was like, "Hey." First off, I told him that my what I was trying to do before the independent. I was like, I think what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to go into the media space and I'm going to start doing my own like television, my own films, my own movies. I'm going to try and put it on my own background. And I started doing the homework and the research in that. And then he was, he was super supportive on that. Hey, that's dope. I was letting him know some of the ideas. He was letting me know he was doing some streaming and live, live events and things. And I was like, yeah, I think I'm gonna move more into that instead of doing the music production as far as an independent artist myself, like as an MC. And I started getting it together. And then as I was getting it together, I was letting them know, hey, man, I'm gonna do a show, and I'm gonna, highlight artists and what they do, and I'm trying to, find out, if you might want to be involved with it. And my buddy, Strictly Business, true to form, man. He's like, yeah, no, I got your back. I'll come in. I'll do the interview. Let me know when. So we got a chance to sit down. I got a chance to ask him about, his company, Concrete Entertainment, and all the things that he has spanned off from Concrete, and even having a little bit of history and knowing about him, about what he does as far as, even with like he does shoes and, he had the video games. So I got a chance to kind of do a deep dive into that. And just for the fact that, like I said, he's came through and we talk about different things just in general, just business in general. And I know he's a businessman and I'm a businessman. And I thought it was dope to show him, to highlight his story. Like, hey, I went from a businessman to managing my artist to becoming an artist, and the transition of each independent, like each level of that. You know what I'm saying? Because everything that does is like the businessman is different than managing, and the managing and being an artist that's different as well. And just to find out, like, yeah, I jumped into the artist role because of this particular situation, or as I'm building my company, I'm realizing that, this has to happen as well. And honestly, I could relate to it because when I was building my company as well, when I was doing my company, I was having ups and downs and pitfalls and successes and just whatever. So I could kind of relate to everything that he's talking about because, like I said, as you're building a business, everything doesn't come like, just super easy, I guess, or just like super simple. Sometimes you get a couple curveballs or a couple knuckleballs that you got to kind of adjust for, and make adjustments and make things happen in order to keep the business running or to go out of business if that's going to happen. So I thought it was dope just to interview him and get his concept of being an independent artist, but also being an independent businessman, and just kind of showcasing what his journey was as far as becoming a businessman to artist, and his production, his process, everything that he does in order to get that to happen. So my buddy Strictly Business was, I think he's episode 7. Good interview. Like I said, if you want to hear about an artist that's basically telling his story, his real story, like I said, from beginning to end, the adjustments, the things he has to do on the fly, check out his episode, man. It's super dope, super great, and that's what's up, man. I think he's, like I said, I think he's episode 7, and just support a businessman, like I said, as he's doing his thing. So the first time I met G13, he was like a little baby. All right, like G13 is actually my blood cousin. My mother is his mother's sister. We have grown up together. We've been slapboxing each other and doing all kinds of different things. I have done probably more things with G13 in this life than I've done with anybody on the planet. We've actually toured all up and down, the coast. We've toured across, from sea to sign and sea. We've been to Atlanta and New York, and we've been to Seattle. We've gone to Denver, and we've rocked shows. He is actually, I have a majority of my music is actually with G13, so I know G13, like I said, from birth. I call his sister to come over and do photos for me. Like we're family. So I hadn't talked to G13 in a long time. It had been a long while, like before I hit him up. We were all doing our own thing. We're all grown. We're doing our thing. We haven't done as much music together, kind of like on our own paths at the moment. And I hit him up. I was setting up. I was kind of getting this independent thing. I was reworking the business, the business that we have together. Where I was reworking it to the media space,
and trying to figure out, the films and the movies and the production portion of it. So I haven't really like reached out or anything. I just been head to the grind and doing my thing. And of course, like I said, normally if I hit up my cousin, I'll go ahead and just shoot him a text, and sometime he'll hit me back, or at some point in time he'll hit me back, whatever, and we'll get it working. So and that's kind of what happened. I was like, yo, hey, I'm thinking about doing this show. It's going to be called, I don't think I told him what it's called. I think, like, yo, we're going to be talking about our journey as far as being a musician. And my original thing was to go ahead and do an episode of us together. Like, we're actually called the New Legends as a group. And I wanted to go ahead and say, hey, I need you to come out as the New Legends. Me and you, we're going to talk about our journey as the New Legends and all the touring and all the recording and all the experience that we've, as far as, making music together. And then we can go ahead and span it off. And I want to do an episode with him and then an episode with me. So, like, he's a solo artist as well. He has his solo music. I have my solo music. And that was original. So, the original independent thought spawned from that. It spawned from me talking to my cousin. We doing an interview with him. We doing an interview with me, and then an interview of us together as the New Legends. And we're going to talk about our music and what it was like to, be on the road. We traveled together. We've flown together. We've rented hotels. We go to all these different places to get food, and and just do cousin and family shit. So I was like, yo, I need you to come out, and I need you to come and do the show independent, and we're gonna do it at Urge Seven's house. And I needed to hit him. I hit him up, I wasn't. I think I had the date. I'm not 100% sure, so, but I think I had the date. And then I think he gave me back like, yeah, cool. And then that was it. I didn't hear anything else yet. So the date was coming, and like I said, I was like, okay, we're getting this rocking. We're getting ready to do this interview. We were kind of crunched for time, and at the time, I was actually trying to do everybody's interview in one day. I was like, yo, if I can get all, so at the time I think I had 8 people. So I was like, if I can get all 8 to come in, and we'll just mash out, just do a marathon session of recording and filming and everything. We'll get it all done in one day, this series, and we'll knock it out, and get everything going. And we'll rock it from there. And the interesting thing is that I think my cousin maybe been the first, I think he might have been the first interview actually. So I think he came in, he might have been the first interview. And as I went back and listened to it, and even one of my buddies that listened to the interview, he said, yeah, you can tell that he has a lot of experience as far as being an independent artist. Like his answers, the delivery, what he's talking about, everything that he's saying in his interview or his docuseries is, you can tell that he's seasoned, is what I think they told me. Like, he's a seasoned MC. You can tell that, we've done shows. You can tell, not even we, you can tell he's done shows. You can tell that he's been in the studio recording. You can tell his experience and how he's relaying the experience back to the people was a very relatable kind of story or whatever. And like I said, as being an independent artist, I've done a lot of this with him as well. Like, I've traveled and made music, and he's made music on his own, of course, as well. But I think the way that he actually, developed and portrayed the story during his interview was actually, just, it was a good story. Like I said, I'm into the storytelling. And I might be biased, like I said, this is my actual blood cousin, from birth. We know each other. But just to listen to the story and know the story myself, like, it's funny, when he was telling the story, there was things that I had forgot about that we had done that he's actually saying. Like, oh, we had wait outside of concerts and handed out CDs or handed out flyers, and I had forgot about some of that stuff. Or, hey, we had did this or we had done that. And some of the stuff he was talking about, I literally forgot we had done. And it was just dope to watch him capture that as an independent artist, as his own artist, not as a New Legend artist. We did do a New Legend episode, but I'm not going to release that one. That one is just, it's in the vault. Maybe down the road, I'm actually thinking I might take independent and make it a long form documentary. So maybe we'll add some of that as well into that. But I took his interview and let it ride solo because I didn't think that it should be diluted with anything as far as our journey together. I thought that his, as an independent artist, his particular point of view of balancing family and balancing money and, going on tour and what it's like to come back from tour after you touring, and, you have to go back to the family life, and you got, the certain bills that you have to adjust and adapt to, and just different things like that. I thought that should stand on its own. And like I said, it was just the ultimate storytelling. And like I said, one of my buddies said, super relatable story as far as what he was telling, as far as being an independent artist. So definitely check out G13, his episode. Like I said, this is somebody I've known since birth. I've known since, like I said, I think I was like 7 or 8 years old, and he was a little baby or whatever. We've grown up together, and we played ball. Like so, we slap box. We got in trouble together. We've done all kinds of things, just traveling and whatever. I've done more stuff with him in general. So, as far as like the independent series, he's one of the people I've known the longest in my life, and I think his story is dope. So, get some time, sit back, watch the G13 story, the independent, the docu series. Man, definitely a good watch. So I met writer 909 the day of the independent shoot, and I didn't have a lot of information on him. I didn't know very much about him actually, but I thought he gave a really good interview. And the way that I met him was through Invincible. It was him. It was one of his friends. He told me, "Hey, my buddy writer 909 raps. He does music, and if you like, I can reach out to him to see if he wants to do the show for you." I had 9 people already. I wanted to do ten for the independent show, so I was like, "Yes, Invincible, if you could please reach out to him and see if he's down." He did. He reached out to me, and I think we shot. He reached out to Invincible. He didn't reach out to me. He reached out to Invincible. We confirmed the date. And the same day that Invincible was doing the show, I decided to go ahead and try to book him and another one of the artists that Invincible had gotten for me on the same day, so we can, because Invincible had rented a studio that he was shooting his show on, and I thought I'll go ahead and tack on a few more additional hours to that particular studio, and we'll go ahead and finish it out. And this was actually the last. Well, they won't say the last because my episode was the last one, but his was one of the last 2 that I had to shoot and get everything done. And I learned about his story actually in real time. You know what I'm saying? I actually learned, and it's the interesting thing about Ryder's interview was like he was saying certain things that maybe I might have been feeling in my journey as far as being an independent artist. Like he was saying things about family and saying things about support and just the music production and the music process in itself. That actually I myself was going like, I have gone through some of this myself as an independent artist, and it was relatable to me. I was, trying to get as many questions out of him as possible. I know we were kind of on a, not say a quick timeline or a quick timetable, but I thought his answers were very sincere, very, in depth. Even when I was asking him once, I think about, do you think being signed is better, or do you think being independent was better? I thought he gave a great answer as far as the dynamic between the two, right? I think, it's a good balance. Maybe you might want to be signed, but even, it has to be a, kind of set up right. And I thought that was super dope that way. It's like, okay, you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And like I said, I think he just had an overall great episode. I think he gave a lot of detail about his journey, what he does, some of his ups and some of his downs as far as what he does for music production, and his ability to create songs and showcase his skills and his storytelling in that process. So if you do get a chance, definitely, I said, go ahead and watch Rider 909. It's a great interview. Like I said, he just does give a lot of detail on what he's saying, a lot of in-depth of his process, his journey. And now that I've got a chance to meet him, I see him in the studio probably more often than I see a lot of others. Like he seems to stay in the studio recently. I don't know, recently since I've been aware of him. Like every time I notice him, he's always recording something. He's making new music. He is putting up new videos, and he seems to be, like I said, just focused on getting his music out there, getting his craft out there. And that's what we want to highlight, man. So his docuseries is kind of going through where he's been at currently. And then as I met him and as I got a chance to know him, I get a chance to watch what he's doing now and see, like I said, the production and the high clip that he's putting out music, staying in the studio. He's staying creative, and like I said, I'm just happy that we were able to get one of the first interviews with him, while he's on his journey and while he's doing his process. So sit back, check out Rider 909. Like I said, a dope artist, dope lyricist. He's got a melodic tone in some of his music as well. And like I said, I think, even some of the hooks he has, super catchy as well. I think that it's just a must watch, a must see as you watch an artist on the rise getting ready to do his thing. All right, we're going to talk about me, Mike, the middleman Chuck. I did a episode on independent. I actually am in a group with my cousin New Legends, which is G13. I think this is episode 7 or 8. And we did do an episode together, but I wanted to split us up because we're actually independent artists or individual artists on our own. And I kind of wanted to highlight, I guess, my journey as far as being an independent artist and kind of the ups and downs that came with it. Like, I think I had quite a few highlights, as far as being an independent artist, and I had quite a few down moments as well. And we're telling it in a group setting. We want to kind of capture basically the story as a whole, as a unit together. But I wanted to tell my story a little bit on what was happening, and in my independent grind, I was actually the one that created the series because I thought basically a lot of people don't really understand what happens when you're an independent artist. And the more I understand the business, I think the more I wanted to highlight what artists go through, especially doing it by themselves, because a lot of times artists think that the music and I guess the process of making dope music is going to be the key to success. And when I started diving into the business aspect of it, what I noticed is that it's not necessarily the hot song that's going to get you on. It's kind of maybe the connections, maybe what how you can get the music out there, and things like that. And I wanted to highlight that a little bit. So I don't necessarily look at my independent episode as like a highlight of being an artist in the music. I kind of look at it as maybe a closure of an artist in the music. I've recorded quite a few songs myself, and in building my Kayatick brand, I am really looking into more of an executive role, because I see the highlight and the benefit of making music and getting the information together for artists so that they can understand what it is to make music, and and kind of, I guess, give that information out so people can kind of use it and kind of utilize it how they want to. So I did want to kind of, I guess this would be like an exit interview, right? If you're going to get fired from a job, I was using independent for me as a kind of an exit interview to say, like, look, this is my story. This is kind of what's going through. Here are my ups and here are my downs. Like I said, in my music career, I've had some crazy highs, man. It's been great to perform with my cousin. It's been great to travel. I think music has provided me a way to travel all throughout the United States, do my craft. I think it's been one of probably the most beneficial things in my life, one of the most memorable memories besides, maybe having my kids, my family. I think that's probably been one of the most beneficial things in my life. But I think it comes to a time when I'm noticing, just in doing homework and details of what it is with music, where the music direction is going, and I think I'm kind of conscious of what it needs to be as far as an artist or even as a businessman. So before, I would get a lot of, like I said, when I was doing music, I would get a lot of fulfillment out of telling my story through a musical path, and now I get the same fulfillment out of actually developing the business and being a platform and a place to provide people for music. And that's what I say in my actual interview. I'm letting people know, like, hey, this is my music experience here, but what I'm actually starting to understand, what I actually like, is I'm actually enjoying building the business and having a platform just for artists, and not just music artists, but I wanted to do films when I was very young. I wanted to make music. I wanted to be in the entertainment space. And I think what I'm learning is that, even though I still will probably make music, I don't know if I'll be really producing it or putting it out publicly for other people to see. Music does help me get a lot of my thoughts off, and a lot of, things that I want to say eternally that I will never say to anybody else. So I do think I will still make music in some capacity, but the fulfillment of actually being a businessman and converting from a musician to a businessman and understanding exactly what it is to, put your time, your heart, your passion, your drive into the music, and try and get some kind of I guess reciprocation from it. A lot of times what I notice is that people don't value music. I see that music is being less and less valued over time, and artists, I don't know, me as an artist, you kind of you get caught up in that, right? You don't really notice that maybe people are just using it as some background noise for a video that they're trying to use. There's famous, dances that are going along and things like that. So music is kind of a utility now, where when I was coming up, it was something that we lived and died for, right? I get an album and I'll listen to it back and forward and forward and back until I memorize the whole album. And it's not like that anymore. It's actually more of a utility. It's very digestible. People take it in and they're waiting for the new thing right now. And I wanted to create my company around the artist. So I want to give the artists, not only do I want to gather information about what's happening with music and how people are receiving music, but I also want it to be a place where it was going to be, when you come to Kayatick, this is what it is. This is we are catering to artists and their fans, and that's kind of like our broad audience that we're looking for. That's what we're trying to zero down to. So my episode of Independent was more of me talking about uh, slowing down my music career. Even though I love rhyming, I think I'm one of the nicest. You know what I'm saying? I think I have the greatest bars. Maybe that's just be a selfish thing as far as a musician, but I think I'm really nice on the mic, and I really do enjoy the process of creating a song and creating an album and creating the album cover and watching everything go from finish to end. But in that same note, I still enjoy building a business, and I get the same kind of benefit out of creating the business, creating the project, creating the getting to the people, finding out what kind of information the people want to see, and I talk about that as far as me being a musician, as well as my musician story. I think it kind of ends kind of in a tragedy at some point because I did this with the thought of other things in mind as far as like family, and the way it ended was not exactly how I had in my mind. So not only do I enjoy making music, but I've actually got sacrificed a lot for music, and I've lost a lot by doing music in itself. You know what I'm saying? Just personally. So I kind of feel like I'm too far to go back at this point, but I do get a good gratification out of creating this content and creating a business where we highlight musicians and films. And as I'm getting into my more executive bag, I just highlight that in my music career. And like I said, I don't think my episode of Independent is an origin story of what's happening. I think my episode of Independent is more of a closure of what's happening, and as I'm moving into the next stage of what I want to do as an artist and as as an executive artist. What I'm saying? I'm kind of being an executive in this business, and that's the space I want to get into. So if you get a chance, definitely check out my episode. It's probably the longest episode in there because I think I had a lot to say. I was really kind of just talking to the mic and the camera and just spilling my guts about everything, how I felt about the situation. But definitely go ahead and check out my episode of Independent on Kayatick Styles. Like I said, it's hard work that we put together on this. I wanted to put together something, this whole series was kind of like an idea of mine that spawned to let people know exactly what it is, exactly what it takes to become a musician, especially an independent artist, and what you put up with and what you go through. So check me out, Mike the Middleman Check, and my episode of Independent coming up, or it's actually out now. So go peep it, man. The support is always welcome.